Gaffer, back again with another great guest, Brad Huebner. Had to think about that, and we had a chat about that particular pronunciation. So I hope we got that right, Brad. Founder and owner of Hammer and Grind. He also has his own podcast. He is a leader in the field of helping people grow their businesses and helping people understand the risks within their business. And I'm really looking forward to getting to talk to him today because, there's a lot of different avenues we can go in with this podcast in terms of the challenges on a day-to-day. But I'm also interested to find out from his experience with his people that he helps, what are the common denominators. I know we're based in Europe, but it doesn't matter. In the construction language, it's right across the field in terms of shortages of labor and stuff like that. But it's going to be interesting to see, what is the major impacts out there that's affecting business owners. Brad, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Welcome to I'm the Gaffer.
Gavin, thank you so much for having me on. I'm looking forward to this. I really am.
Brilliant. Tell us, where in the world are you right now?
Yeah, I'm actually in Indiana, southern Indiana. Corn everywhere around us. If you've ever been to the U.S., there's lots of corn around us. So we're in the Midwest. If you don't know, not for sure exactly where we're at, right in the Midwest, and kind of vertically and horizontally centered for the most part. And so, yeah, I've been here my whole life, short of a 4-year stint in the military, but came back home, been here the whole time. So, yeah.
Yeah, well done on your service. I seen that you were a Marine. Maybe kick things off there, will we, in terms of your life journey to get us to where you were on the podcast today? Where would you like to start?
It's an interesting one. I mean, I thought I wanted to be an architect when I was in school. I've always kind of liked, I don't want to say drawing, but like creating, structural things, Legos. I love Legos growing up. And so I wanted to be an architect and took a bunch of drawings and, architectural drawing, all these different things in high school. Turns out you actually have to have good grades to get into college to be an architect. So that kind of shot that in the foot. So I decided the next best option was the military. And of course, why not go into the Marines? And so I did that 4 years, lots of different experiences there, but I realized like this isn't really a place for a family. If you want to, raise a family, military is very difficult. So I kind of got out. And then a bunch of different jobs after the military, trying to figure my way. And then I found my way back into construction as a superintendent. And then that kind of through a series of events, ended up starting my own business and struggling a lot. And then I got coaching for my business and then learned a lot of different things. And through the process of getting coaching, kind of fell in love with coaching. And then eventually started my own coaching business and podcast as well. So that's kind of the short version of how we got to where we are today.
Brilliant. And do you know what? When you think about it, there's not enough people have a mentor or somebody, a trusted advisor on their wing, if you like. Especially in construction, I've noticed that. I don't know about you, but it sounds really only a new thing. In the last couple of years, people are probably picking it up a little bit more than what they were years ago. But I still don't think there's enough done in that area. Would you say?
No, I mean it's interesting. It seems like every week I see a new, some type of business coaching, mentoring course, guru out there, and I'm a skeptic too. Like I'm sure you see the same stuff every week, and it's like, come on, man.
Don't worry, we vet everybody before we bring them on the show, Brad. You've got through the vetting process. Don't worry.
Good. All right, I can relax now. But no, I mean it's just I agree with you 100%. There's it's not really competition. I mean, there's so many contractors in the world. We could add another 1,000 coaches, and it wouldn't be enough, to serve everyone. But I agree with you. When I started out, there wasn't anything. I mean, we didn't have social media. There wasn't websites. There wasn't online coaching. Like you could go to a local, business coach, like a consultant, but they probably weren't construction experts. They were like small business experts. And I even hired, one of those guys when I first started, and he did help me, but he didn't know anything about the construction industry. Right. And so like I agree with you. There's definitely an opportunity for more to help more contractors with some of the basic stuff, like the business side of things.
Yeah, 100%. And like, it's a lonely old world out there in terms of running a business, and a lot of people are making, for a small to medium sized company, taking on an employee is a massive thing. Like, taking on a client is a massive thing. Putting in a new soft piece of software is a massive thing. Bigger than, the larger companies who can absorb a failure, if you like. Um, Whereas there's no margin for error in the small to medium enterprise. And, these guys are making loan decisions off the pretty fast, which is, it's good that they're pretty fast, that they can make these decisions, but sometimes it's too fast and there's not enough due diligence done. And maybe it is, you know, something that they need to have somebody to checking them on the side. Hold on a minute, have you done a business plan before taking on this person or taking on that software? But like, that's, I suppose, where I'm going with it is, what problems do you see that are consistent within these owners that you meet? What's the regularity that you see where the challenges are?
Yeah, I mean the number one thing across the board, I don't care what industry you're in, it's profitability. Most small businesses, when I say small business, I want to define it as like less than 10 employees, generally doing, and this is can be depending on what your industry is, but
Yeah,
generally under 1 million in revenue, smaller kind of mom and pop operations, if you will.
yeah,
Across the board, it's profitability. There, and most of that, I mean, overwhelming majority. I would say over 80% of those are because they're just simply not charging enough. That's it. It's that
yeah,
simple.
yeah. Or they don't have a model where they're tracking gross profit and net profit. It's just, I've
Oh,
done this
absolutely.
before. Like, yeah, like a simple thing.
I
I'm obsessed with gross profit and net profit, to be honest with you. So much so to my detriment, because if I see it dropping, I'm obsessed. Where did that drop come from? How did that drop
yeah.
come? You know?
I'll say this, it's not even this is not unique to what you just talked about with like I mean, we're talking about knowing your numbers, right? The financial aspect of your business, knowing your numbers. Um, I, I I've worked with companies that are doing 6 million in revenue, have 12, 15 employees, and they don't even their profit and loss or their P&L is not correct. Like they haven't even looked at their P&L in over a year. And they're doing
Over a
6
year.
million in revenue. And you're like, how are you running your business?
But did they do well? The other part of it is, and I've spoken to a couple of business people about this as well, and they've all said that number one employee will be, a PA, sort of, somebody that's operational, that can give you that sort of freedom to, manage the job and manage the client and get more work and stuff like that. But then the second person will be the accounts person. 100%. You need somebody that knows their numbers in the business,
I
especially more
agree.
if you're not doing it yourself.
Well, that's another good point. Like, and as far as like strategic partners, right? There's kind of like three main ones. You got to have a good insurance agent to help you. You got to have on your team. I don't mean like
Yeah,
they don't work for you, obviously. It's just a strategic partnership. You got to have a good insurance agent. You got to have a good banker,
yeah,
and you definitely have to have a good accountant slash CPA,
yeah,
financial person. And so, like those, I don't have to hire an in-house accounts payable, accounts receivable, bookkeeper type person. I'm just like subbing that out to somebody I trust. And I mean, it's not that much. It really isn't
yeah.
to hire a professional like that. And so
Correct. Yeah,
I would even argue that you could hire that person from day one, have an accountant on staff, not on staff, but hiring a strategic partner from day one.
yeah, yeah. I would agree with you. Like, I wouldn't say that putting the PA first would be number one. It generally does help to relieve yourself of some pressure. But knowing your numbers, it's just like, oh my god, I get like, and when I hear people and they don't even do monthly accounts, and then you're telling me they're like 6 million turnover businesses are not even doing annual accounts of
They
PN
weren't even doing
P&Ls
that.
and stuff.
They weren't even doing job costing. They literally had no idea how much money they were making on jobs. Now, they were just doing so much volume that they were basically outworking the inefficiencies of their business.
Oh, I love that, the way you said that. That's brilliant. Outwork, say that again. Outworking the inefficiencies of the business. I love it.
Yeah, but that's it
Brilliant.
only takes a couple bad decisions, or a couple bad purchases, or some kind of thing and then you're like, all of a sudden all that money's gone.
Yeah.
So you got to know,
Uh,
you got to know your numbers.
There's
That's
no,
the bottom line.
they basically have no sustainability built into the business, because if it derails, or if a COVID hits again, they have no parachute.
Right. Yeah.
So when you go into these, so okay, give me a typical scenario of somebody ringing up Brad and saying, "Hey, Brad, I'm in the shit. I need to talk to you here."
Usually it's going to be the mom and pop. It could be a one-man operation, or they may have 2 to 3, 4, 5 employees. Like I said, under sub 1 million, usually around 3 to 500,000 a year in revenue. I mean,
Yeah,
they've just through hard work, they've been able to kind of build, somewhat of a business, right, in revenue. But they're not paying themselves much. They're
yeah,
maybe 40,000, maybe 50, maybe 60, or maybe nothing.
yeah,
But they're working all the time. They're working 70, 80, 90 hours a week. They don't get to see their kids, their families. They're working all the time. And they're trying to hire people because they think that's what you're supposed to do to grow, but they don't know how to hire the right person. They don't know how to delegate. They don't know how to put systems
yeah,
in place. And so they're just, I call it the crazy cycle. They're on
yeah,
the crazy cycle where they're working so many hours just to survive financially.
yeah,
And then the family or the kids or whatever, like, hey, we never get to see you. You need to stay. So they kind of make this shift. Like, you're right. I got to stop working so many hours. So they shift to kind of like not working as much, but then they're not making as much money because they quit working as many hours. And
yeah,
then the bills pile up, and
yeah,
then they're back on the cycle of, I got to go back to work and work 100 hours a week now. And that just keeps going on for years until they either burn out or they go bankrupt.
or
That's
they
that's the
become,
that's
yeah, or they become an alcoholic,
Yeah,
which is what we're
that
seeing
goes
a lot
along
of.
with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
addiction, all that stuff goes along with it 100%.
yeah, like it's frightening, isn't it? You know, I think a lot of people as well, like they seem to fall into construction and the business of construction and running the business. They seem to like, started on the tools, and then someone said, "God, it'd be great now if you could get a couple of guys together and knock this job out for us because you're a great guy and we really like you." Next thing, all of a sudden, you went from a on the tools person to running your own crew of two or three guys, and then it becomes four guys and five guys and whatever. And now all of a sudden, you're a business owner, so they become, you know, the really good top tradesperson first, and the poor or average or really bad business person second.
Yes. Yeah, they're always a craftsman first. So for I call it the craftsman to businessman journey. Like, you have to go from a craftsman to a businessman. You have to make that transition. You can't really be both.
Yeah,
And that's hard for a lot of guys because they're in the position they're in because they're a craftsman, because they're good with their hands, because they know how to build things.
yeah,
That's not the same as like understanding marketing, understanding sales, understanding, my numbers, financing, leadership, HR. Those two skills do not translate together.
yeah. Talk to me a bit about the contractual landscape in the States in terms of construction contracts. Do you see them as being fair and reasonable, or do you see them as being arbitrational, or do you see them as being, you know, not worth the paper they're written on?
I think you'd have to kind of separate like commercial, industrial slash residential.
Yeah,
Uh, on the commercial residential side, it's always going to be very one sided for the general contractor, the developer, the builder. That's it's going to be one sided, but it's not like take it or leave it kind of thing. On the residential side, it can be very forgiving both ways. I mean, it's pretty. There's no. Let me back up for a second. In any industry, any job, you always have people that are in a position of power that should not be in a position of power. So we have bad general contractors just as much as we have bad electricians or bad carpenters, right? And so
yeah,
if you have a bad general contractor, he is definitely going to be taking advantages of his subcontractors, and either through ignorance or
yeah,
through intention, the subcontractor usually gets the bad end of the stick, right? I've seen
Yeah.
stuff where a general contractor is doing a job for someone, and the general contractor's disposition is, well, I'm not going to pay you until I get paid from the client, and the client hasn't paid me yet, so I can't pay you. My position on that is, you're the general contractor. They work for you. That's your problem. It's not the subcontractor's problem. Like, you
Yeah.
should be paying your subcontractor regardless if the client has paid you yet, right?
Yeah.
But that's very common in the States, where it's like, well, I can't pay you because I haven't been paid yet. So there's a lot of, like, contractually, there's a lot of people get taken advantage of through ignorance, or misuse of their power, if you will,
Yeah.
not because the contract itself is very one-sided.
Yeah. Do you feel that there's too much honor going into the relationship? If you don't know each other, you haven't worked together with each other before, that you're putting too much trust on the table, and maybe people don't do enough due diligence up front and go, hold on, let's pull this guy's accounts and see what he's been turning over for the last couple of years, and see
I
what his
think you should do
credit
your due
rating is.
diligence. Yeah, for sure. You should be doing due diligence on. If you're a subcontractor, you got to do your due diligence on the general contractor. If you're
They're
a
not doing
GC,
it.
you got to do the due diligence on the sub. Both ways. It's a
They're
two-way
not doing it.
street. But here's what I noticed the most. Tradesmen, and again, we're going back to the tradesman side, the craftsman, right?
Yeah.
They focus on the task. Am I doing a good job with my task? Am I putting in cabinets very well? Am I
Yeah.
installing electrical? Am I doing plumbing very well? It's all focused around the task.
Yeah. You're
In
dead right.
business, though, it's not about the task. It's about the
100%.
relationship, and it's
Yeah.
about the communication. And
Yeah.
that's the part where there's a disconnect for most craftsmen, because their idea is, man, I'm the best. Let's just say I'm the best, cabinet builder in the city. I build amazing cabinets. That's great.
Yeah.
That doesn't help you if you can't communicate with someone, problems or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
you still got to be able to have great communication skills to make that work.
I'm glad you said that. Because that's so true. From what I've seen as well, is that uh, they get very personal then when the bill is not paid. Because hold on a minute, I've given you 110% of me in the building of that cabinet, and now you're telling me that there's a problem with the money. Whereas you shouldn't really be having that conversation, and you shouldn't really be letting that get to you that much if you had all your due diligence done up front and you had somebody that was minding that area for you. So it didn't come to when you had finished the cabinet that there's a problem.
Right. Yeah. That's the communication part of it too. It's like, if you're the general contractor, and I'm the cabinet builder, right? And you hire me to build cabinets for one of your project, and in your contract it says we pay net 30,
Yeah,
right? Once you submit an invoice, it's 30 days before you pay me. If
yeah,
it says that up front, clear as day, I know that going into it, that, hey, I'm going to have to cover. I got to make sure I
30
have
day.
enough cash flow for 30 days to be able
Yeah,
to. And so, like, half the time they don't even read the contract. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
no one's doing
But
anything bad. They just didn't read the contract.
no, but it's back to that trust and honor thing as well. Like, oh, no, no, I got a good vibe from you, Brad. I think I could work with you. You seem like a good guy. We might go for a few pints or a few drinks on a
Yep.
Friday after work and stuff like that. And next thing, all of a sudden, you're 6 months into the job and you're 3 months behind them on payments.
Yes.
Because it doesn't work. No matter who you think you trust, you have to sort of leave that aside and really drill down on the due diligence side of things going in. Because when you're in, you're in.
Yeah, I mean, let's go back to the same scenario. 30-day payment terms. I understand that. We go in, we do the job. I do the first phase of the job. It's 30. I submit the invoice. 30 days later, you don't pay me. I
Yeah,
call you up and I say, Gavin, where's my check at? You're like, hey, and it's going to be another week or two. At that point, what I should be doing is saying, great, we're pulling off the job. As soon as you have the check for me, I'll be back. That's it.
yeah,
Like, I'm
yeah,
stopping work. I'm not going to be, oh, just give me another week, give me another 2 days,
yeah,
give me, help me out, scratch my back. No, no, this is business. This isn't personal.
yeah.
As soon as you pay
I'm
me,
glad
I'll
you.
be back there on the job.
I'm glad you said that. because there's so many of us have just cracked on and said, no, I can solve this, I can sort this, and I know it's a sticky moment, and your man said he's not getting paid from the client and stuff like that. You know, you can't afford to run into another week or into another 2 weeks or into another month waiting on what might be. All you can deal with is what you're in control of right now, and you're in control of your time and your labor.
Yep.
It's exactly what
I
you're
agree.
saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, I'm really glad you said that, because it's like what I was going to say to you was, people should probably look at maybe milestone payments as well if they feel that there's, the 30-day thing is not going to really sort of, might be too long maybe.
Well, that's what I was going to say next is like payment terms. You got to be crystal clear on your payment terms. You know what I mean? There's always clauses and all this stuff. If you don't do this and then like, okay, I get all that, but like the
Mm,
payment terms, that is the
yeah,
most important thing you have to get right.
yeah,
And here's the other thing I would just throw out for everybody. Just because a general contractor says we're net 30 doesn't mean you can't go to them and say, look, man, I'm a small company. Is it possible to get net 15? Is it possible to get a small deposit to get started? And so sometimes they're like, well, this is our normal procedure. We don't do that.
yeah,
But as a good faith, yes, I will help you out this time and do this or this or this. It
yeah,
doesn't hurt to ask, right?
yeah,
But there's so much ego, there's so much pride in construction that people are just so they're so
and
scared to ask for help or seem weak. They don't want to seem weak because they ask for help or have a communication, with someone that they
yeah.
just rather you know, put it all down inside and, and just grunt it out and hope everything works out for the better.
You're 100% right. Yeah, 100% right. In terms of the type of demographic of business owner that you help, are they, you're saying that a lot of them are sort of under the million, are they? Or is it, anything from the big guys all the way down to the small guy, or, what generally is the demographic?
Most of them are sub 1 million. I mean, I have several that are 3 million, 4 million, 6 million,
Yeah.
8 million. But most of them are sub 1 million and they're trying to transition from being on the tools either full time or part time to getting off the tools and really start being a business owner instead of a craftsman.
Yeah, I definitely, like, I can definitely see that, like, and that's very hands-on for you as well, isn't it? Like, there's a lot of so a lot of your time goes into that, in terms of relationships, building up the sort of the knowledge of where they've come from to where they are today, and how you have to bring them on to the next level. Like, there must be a lot of front loading on your side.
There is, and there's a 90% of what I do is mindset. It's disguised as a sales process or a marketing or a complete system to help your business. But truthfully, 90% of it's mindset because I can tell you to raise your prices. If you're only getting a 25% gross profit, I'm like, that's not enough. You definitely got it. I mean, we shoot for a 50% gross profit. That's the goal. If you're
Mm,
at 25 and I'm telling you to double that to go to 50, and you don't believe that that's possible, you're like, Brad, wait a minute, there is no way my clients are going to pay me that much money. Like, I have 5 other competitors that are way cheaper than me now, and there's no way I can pay double what I'm at. If that's your mindset, then I can't help you. You will not be able to change and do
yeah.
anything different in your business. So I have to change your mindset first, and that's really 90% of what I do.
Wow. You're the first person that's actually put that. So, like, I've often asked people that's in your industry, like, similar question, and they get down into the details of this, that, and the other, and you were like, no, mindset. It's the behavior. It's patterns.
Yeah.
It is. It's so true.
Yeah.
Leads to behaviors, and you know it's the behavior that has to change first. They're coming to you looking for help, and they think that you're going to help them probably take on, be able to select the right person, how to adjust the numbers and stuff like that. And you're going, no, I need to get into your head and change your mindset because you're running at a loss.
Well, I was that guy. Like, I was the perfect head case for my own coaching. Is like I had mindset problems. When I got coaching for my business, I also hired a mindset coach, like literally someone to help rewire my brain
Wow.
because I just had a lot of head trash around. and really what it comes down to is a self-worth situation. Like if I don't think I'm worth charging more, then I'm not going to be able to. So there's a lot of internal, and a lot of this stuff comes from childhood. It comes from things that you were told or happened to you as a kid. And
Yeah,
so that you have to do some deep work on yourself in order to get past, some of those things, to
yeah.
really open you up to like what you're capable of doing.
I shouldn't be laughing, but I was thinking I was actually putting you in the category of a profiler. You know the way in the police they have
Hmm.
profilers in terms of profiling crimes and stuff like that. And it's 100% a profiler. I need to profile. I need to create a persona for who you are right now, but I need to
Yeah.
create another persona of where you need to be or who you should be. So I can see then that probably the relationship probably is more, you've more longevity in the relationship, I would suggest, or do you, in terms of the person you'd usually stay with you then and kind of go, or did they
Yeah.
go, hi Brad, thanks very much for that, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, I have a pretty high turnover, or not turnover, pretty high retention rate of people. I mean, I have guys that have been in my program 2, 3 years now, and it's not that they're really learning new things. I mean, they do learn some new things. They're there for the support, for the the community aspect of it. But yeah, I mean, that's the beginning. The beginning is the mindset. So I know we talked about it off screen, but I wrote a book. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because the
Yeah,
first section, there's 4 steps that I outline in this book, and the first step is about mindset, because
yeah,
again, that is the foundation. If you have the wrong mindset, I can teach you all the sales techniques that are out there, but if you don't believe those techniques will work, if you don't
yeah,
believe you can apply them, it's pointless. There's no
yeah.
point. So the mindset is the most important thing.
It's uh, it's a revelation, I would suggest, in terms of, yeah, the mindset is like, people are probably coming to you and they probably have trauma and they,
Hmm.
haven't dealt with it probably. And some of the decisions that they're making now are based on, you know, not the right, what was I going to say, emotion, if you like. They're coming at it from a different angle. I put it in the context of myself. I lost a brother at a very young age. He was young and he drowned. But someone said to me, I was at a business, I was part of a business group, and someone pulled me aside and said, you know, I think you're probably making business decisions the wrong way because I think you're too still you haven't unraveled the emotion of losing your brother. And it was the way that I was talking to people and the way I was telling people how I was dealing with business and how I was dealing with clients. And I was pretty sort of, I wouldn't say aggressive, but like I was pretty direct and pretty sort of hard, in terms of my approach. If someone wasn't paying me, they'd know that I need to be paid. If someone didn't do things the way they should be, I'd be fairly on them. And your man said, like, that's all stemming from your brother. And it was the first time it resonated with me straight away. It knocked me back and I went, absolutely. I hadn't unraveled that as a person, which then that emotion then led it into my business and the way I was dealing with people. If you talk to me now, I'm much more placid, I'm much more laid back, and much more. Uh, well, I'm not aggressive, but like I'm much more sort of approachable in terms of how I do business.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear about your brother. I've never had to experience that. I appreciate you sharing that with me as well.
No problem.
That's a great example of things that happen to us as a child, that can completely shape the way we are as adults.
Yeah,
And you're right. You have to, I always say all the time, it's like there's no feelings in business. Like you have to leave your feelings at the door, right?
yeah,
Leave your emotions at the door. Remove the emotion, strip it. And especially as a leader, when you do hire people, you don't you can't have an emotional reaction to one of your employees that does something stupid that costs you a lot of money, right?
yeah,
You have to be able to be level-headed and approach it from a non-emotional position to understand and then be able to correct or do whatever decision needs to be made. But you don't get to go to them with your emotions. that's you were talking about earlier about being a an owner or an entrepreneur is lonely. It is because you have to absorb all of the bad that happens in your business. You have to shield that from your employees,
Yeah.
right? And they don't get to help you with that in a sense of like see you, in a bad light. Doesn't mean you can't like. I'm not saying you can't have any emotions, like you can't just be stoic all the
Yeah.
time. But I'm saying you can't be upset. You can't yell at your guys because they made a stupid mistake. What are you doing, you effing moron? You can't no,
Yeah.
you can't do that kind of, you know what I mean? Um, so there is a lot of emotion that people have, and you have to learn how to turn that off. And I always say like be a data scientist. Like go find data of
Yeah.
what's going on. Hey, what made you make that decision? Like what were you thinking when you did that and it caused this problem? Like what were you thinking when that happened? Like what was
Yeah.
your thought process? Because I want to learn, like was he actually on his phone and he wasn't paying attention, or did he thought he was making the right decision and he ended up wasn't, and now I can correct that and help him shape that. So like you got to remove a lot of that emotion. And if you personally have tons of baggage and that you're carrying around and then something happens, you're going to have that knee jerk emotional reaction. And so yes, you do need to unpack a lot of that. And I don't know if you've read the book. I give this book to all my clients. It's called Mindset. Have you ever read that book or heard of it?
No. No.
All your listeners, if I would recommend you listen to it, even if you think there's nothing wrong with you, or read it. I say listen because I listen to Audible.
Yeah.
Read the
Same
book.
here.
It's called Mindset by Dr. Carol S. Dweck. Dweck, Dweck. Phenomenal book. Opened my eyes to realize that like 90% of our problems as adults developed as children. And if we understand that, we can unlock some serious progress in our lives.
Yeah. This is crazy because I only watched a podcast recently, and the guy was working in um, he was working in the police force in the UK, and he brought up this topic, and he actually named out some quite very high profile celebrities that everybody would know. I'm not going to name them here, but he basically said that person, all these people are dealing with childhood trauma. Um, the way they are acting, I can tell you now that it's childhood trauma has driven them to be this sort of powerful image or powerful person, or high net worth individual.
Mm-hmm.
That's what got it's the childhood trauma that has brought them to that point. And it was like a light bulb. It's like, yeah, Jesus, when you think about it, you know there is a lot of people carrying that sort of negativity into themselves, that has made them and driven them into sort of like become leaders. Now I'm not saying there's other leaders that probably had a great childhood. There's no question about that. But you can see some people that the way they're so intense and they're so sort of passionate and over the top in terms of trying to achieve,
Yep.
that it's just the trauma that's driving them.
Yeah, most of your high achiever business type people or entertainers, they've had some type of serious trauma and they're trying to prove somebody or something wrong, whether to themselves or to someone else. That is true. But the thing is, like, you don't have to have. I had a pretty good childhood. Like, I didn't, I wasn't abused. I didn't have any significant events. The only thing that I would say was remotely close to being some type of trauma is I had an older brother who was very athletic. He was the athlete star of the school, and I was kind of like
Yeah.
in the shadows, like, kind of. And this was 100% on me. My parents did
Yeah.
not do this, but I felt like they didn't love me as much because my brother got all the attention, right? That
Yeah.
would, but I manifested that. My parents didn't put that in me, and so you have to be able to like. It didn't have to be something crazy. It could be one time your dad said something to you, and he was just in a bad mood that day, and he just said something off the cuff, and you latched on to that word that he said or that phrase, and you embedded it in your brain and you lived with that the rest of your life. That's all it takes. It doesn't take years of abuse to change that. And so you have to be able to go back in there and unpack that,
Unpack it. Yeah.
and really figure out what it is that's holding you back. And I'm not an expert at like I'm not a psychiatrist, or when we talk mindset stuff, we're talking really about how does my certain mindset affect my business decisions.
Yeah.
And one of them, as an example, and this happens a lot with the blue collar trades. A lot of blue collar people are people pleaser. A lot of blue collar, owners are people pleasers, and those are the ones that get taken advantage of the most,
Yeah.
because they feel like if I can just make you happy, then you're gonna give me a great review, and you're gonna love me and give me more business and referrals. I just got to make you happy. And so when the client's like, "Well, can you repaint this whole wall? Can you just redo this whole thing? Because I don't really like it that much." And you're like, "Okay, sure, I'll do it at my cost."
Yeah.
That's where the people pleaser gets in trouble. But what does that remind you of? What does a people pleaser remind you of as a child?
Yeah. It's kind of like, so you're not going to get in trouble
Yeah,
with mommy and daddy.
that's right. That's right. So I have a lot of people pleasers in my group, and we kind of joke around about it and have fun with it. And we're like, people pleasers unite, because a lot of times, and we have these conversations in our community. Somebody will post
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I just talked to a client and they said this, this, and this. Like, is it just me? Like, am I looking at this wrong, or is this?" And we're like, "Yeah, you're actually trying to go above and beyond. Like, you're trying to please them. Let's
Yeah.
look at it from a different angle." So, like, that's just one example of like the mindset stuff that goes into everyday running a business.
Um, I managed the football team for a while, and out of my business, because I did do a lot of business work on myself. I was part of um, this group entrepreneurs organization, or EO. You probably heard of it in the States as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
board member in Ireland, and one of the things we done was a lifeline. Don't know if you ever seen the lifeline.
I'm not familiar with that. No.
Oh, Mary, you're producing the show. We might put a link into in regards to the book that Brad was talking about, but also put a link into Lifeline. So basically, you plot out your life in terms of events that happened to you, both positive and negative, and you
Oh,
put
okay.
them. So you put your, I was 15 when this happened, and that was a great thing. So that goes up. Then it was when that went down. It's kind of the level of negativity or the level of positivity. Depends on what way you shape the. But eventually, it ends up like something like a heartbeat, or a heartbeat chart, if you like. And you go back and you look at it and you go, shit, how many
Yeah.
lows have I had? Or, my God, I've had no lows. I've had a really consistent, great life where I didn't really have anything too big or too small or too negative or too positive. It was fascinating. All the players, we got every one of the players to put it up, their own version of it. And being quite honest with you, some guys were just bawling, crying, because they were expressing stuff that we had never heard about them or didn't know about them. But that was the process, was trying to get people to open up to each other, so that you could say, like, it's not just a footballer that's you're with. It's a person, and this person has had this in their life. So you could be more, appreciative, or more sensitive, or whatever way, with that individual. But I thought it's a very powerful tool, and if you Google it, you can basically just download charts
Hmm.
off Google as well.
I'll have to
Um,
write that down. Yeah, that's great. I like that
Lifeline,
idea.
Lifeline, yeah. Um, God, how do we get on this?
Good stuff, though. It's good stuff.
It is. Moving on. So we got past the mindset, and then you get in under the weeds, and then you go, okay, let's have a look at the engine here. Let's get into the nuts and bolts. Talk to me about that, Brad. Talk to me about helping people in that area.
Yeah, we got to look at the finances next, right? Once we get past the mindset, now we look at the finances, look at the numbers, figure out what you're charging. And like I said, 90% of the time, contractors are not charging enough. They're just not charging enough if you want to have a good business. And so we got to start raising our prices. We got to look for opportunities. And it's not always raising your prices. A lot of times you're offering 5 different services, and one of them is like costing you money, and you haven't actually sat down and looked at the numbers to realize, like, oh, why am I still offering this service when I don't make any money on it, when my
Yeah,
number one service I make 3 times as much money on. So, right, so it's like, okay, well, we're going to delete that service completely, someone calls you tomorrow and you don't have any work lined up, we're still not taking that job.
Yeah.
Right. And so like that's the financial aspect of it, is really understanding the numbers side of it. And then also, like, here's the numbers to track. Like, you need to track your leads. You need to track where your leads are coming from, how, what's your average job size, and what's your average cost of acquisition cost per customer, and all these different
Mm.
things that go into understanding the business. And we don't go from no knowledge to super nerd. Like, we stay with some of the basics first, right? And
Yeah.
then we can layer on some things later on as well.
It's interesting just to say that. I had a crane company guy ring me recently, and owner of a crane company, and on our safety side of the business, he wanted to get some advice, and it was about doing some domestic work in terms of what paperwork, statutory paperwork, did he need. And the talk or the conversation went from safety to actual business, as opposed to me giving him advice on safety. I asked him about why it was he was working in that particular sector when it was a high risk sector anyway, in terms of, you're doing residential stuff, lifting stuff in over houses, you've got traffic, you might be in a city or stuff like that. Why would you not work in a more highly regulated, bigger industry like, power generation, energy, there's other big stuff like building data centers and stuff like that. And he couldn't, he had no answer for me, because he had spent so long in that area, that he was just, that was the question, was he was just tunnel visioned into this.
Yeah.
And so the conversation was, yeah, I'll get paid more if I go working in these other industries. They're highly regulated. They'll drive me in terms of standards anyway, and I'll bring my own standards. I'll get paid more, and I'll have less risk than, the stuff where he was kind of just, the man, the local man with the crane.
Yeah, sometimes you need somebody to just look at it and like point out the most obvious thing to you. I had a potential client call me a couple weeks ago, and he was an electrician, and his main thing was like solar farms. They go build these massive solar farms that can take 6 months or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, but he was seeing kind of the writing on the wall of, different regulations and things coming through, incentives going away, like that. The solar business may be kind of slowing down. And so
Mm.
he wanted my help to help him with to get into residential electrical. And I'm like, well, why would you do that? Like, you already have all of your people that are doing solar farms or commercial,
Yeah.
industrial. Can they not just do industrial, commercial, other work? Yeah, they can do that. I'm like, okay, but if you do residential, you're going to have different people, because
Yeah.
they're not the same. Yeah, you're right. And I was like, well, why don't you just focus on doing more commercial installations and maintenance then, instead of getting into residential? And by the end of the conversation, I'm like, you don't need my help, really. You just need to recenter of your focus. And so, he was one of those that I really couldn't help out, because I don't know anything about solar. I don't help with commercial, industrial, type of businesses, and that's what he was going to do. And so, but it was just a 30-minute phone call, and he was like, "Oh, you're right. I don't know why I was thinking I was going to get into residential."
That was a very, very economical phone call for him.
Yeah, I didn't even charge him. It was free.
Yeah, but
So,
imagine
yeah.
what the money you saved him, in terms
Oh,
of,
yeah.
look at
Because
the
he had to buy
hassle
new
he would have went through.
vehicles.
Oh
He had to
man.
upfit for all that, and then it's like, and we went through the numbers. I'm like, well, how much can you make on residential? This much, and how much can you do on commercial? Like, 20
Yeah,
times more.
with
He's like,
less,
okay, yeah,
yeah, with less labor as well, in terms
yes,
of, and
yeah,
less hassle. Like, we
yep,
don't do it enough. For, we're coming near the end of the year. Like, people should sit down now and start saying to themselves, okay, come January, I'm not doing this anymore, because this is just tearing the business apart. Like, doing small ticket items, and dedicating all that time and resource and energy, and in some cases not getting paid for it. For
yeah.
what? For what?
If
You
you're
know,
gonna do the
oh,
small ticket stuff, you need to make sure you're charging as if you're getting paid for the big ticket stuff.
brilliant. I love
I
that.
mean,
Yeah.
if you got to charge $500 to go change a light bulb because that's what your overhead requires, then that's what you have to charge. And if someone's willing to pay that, then by all means, go change a light bulb for $500.
100%.
That's
100%.
it. You're
It's
not
not,
making them pay that. I mean, you're not
this is
making them
not,
hire you.
it's not complicated.
No.
Uh, it's really not that complicated. Like, all right, so the operations you've sorted that out. Where do we go then afterwards? Is it
Well,
just a sustainable plan then, or where do we get?
no, well, the four steps are, the first one is mindset, second one is finances, the third one is sales and marketing, and then the fourth one is like the systems side of the business. And a lot of guys think they need systems. They think they think they need more efficiency first. So a lot
Yeah,
of guys will reach out to me like, man, I just need a better system. I just need the SOPs and all this stuff. It's like, no, you don't, not yet. You actually need to charge more, and then you need to learn how to sell your value so that you can charge more. And then we got to attract the right people to our business. So we got to do some marketing. And then once you're making money, like good money, then we can take that money and invest it in good systems and start streamlining the business. And so I'll say this, like, if we have a funnel, if we're doing a job, let's say I'm a bathroom remodeler and I'm going to do a bathroom for $30,000. Okay, it's what it costs, and I'm going to make my money through efficiencies. So I'm going to put all these processes and systems in place, top of the line tools, all this stuff, and maybe on a $30,000 job, I can save $1,000 of efficiency, right? Like
yeah,
I save days or hours because of this. So I save $1,000. That's great. I made an extra $1,000. Yay me, right? But the other guy who comes in says, okay, same bathroom, exact same thing. I'm going to charge you $35,000 for that bathroom. And I have zero efficiency. So I lose the $1,000 efficiency. Who makes more money?
yeah.
The guy who's charging 35 makes more money, right?
Mm.
Effectively, that guy made $4,000 more than the guy who's super efficient. And then once you're making that kind of money, then the guy charging 35, then he can go and invest in the tools, and then he still gets the $1,000 efficiency. So now he's making $6,000 extra instead of the $1,000 because I'm super efficient. And this
Yeah,
is exactly what I did. I went the efficiency route. I had so much money invested in tools, state of the art crap. I thought, man, if I have all this stuff, it's going to make me super efficient. And
yeah.
boy, was that stupid.
You see it. You see it with the fancy vans, the fancy jeeps, trucks. The fancy websites. Like 100%. People put it into the wrong areas, putting all the time and effort into and this money into the wrong areas. And you can buy, you can wrap your cars and wrap your jeeps later on. Like that'll come down the road. For now, you just need a magnetic sign on the side of a van that'll do you for the time being.
I'm a big fan of. I mean, I do think you have to market. You do need the websites and the wrapped vehicles and all that stuff. But the difference is when you don't understand pricing. Again, going back to the guy who sold it for $30,000, he sold and let's say this is the first job that both contractors ever did. The one guy made an extra $1,000 that he can invest in marketing tools, whatever. The second guy made $4,000. He can take that $4,000 extra and then go
Yeah,
get his website built immediately.
yeah,
The
yeah.
the other guy has to do 4 to 5 jobs,
To get there.
over 3 months or 6 months or whatever before he can afford to go get the website.
Yeah.
So this is
If
this is what I mean by, like, you got to charge more in order to reinvest back into your business, including systems and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think there should be a rule of thumb within your business, in a rule of thumb in your business, that like your gross profit is this, your net profit is that, and that's it. It's non-negotiable after that. Like if somebody
That's
is
right.
trying to squeeze that, well then that's not my business. You know, um, it's one way of
Well,
putting it.
let's tie this back into the mindset, the people pleaser we talked about, right? What do
Yeah,
people pleasers do whenever someone calls them? They think, oh man, this person called me. It's now my responsibility to sell them a job, right?
yeah,
And I
it's so
have to do
true.
it, and right, because it's
Is
like
it?
I have to sell them, and I have to sell every person that calls me, right? And that's a scarcity mindset, by the way.
Yeah,
so then the client's like, man, I can't really afford $30,000 for this bathroom, Brad. Can you help me out any? And you're like, man, if I work weekends and maybe I do a couple things, yeah, I could probably get it down to like 25. Would that work? Oh, that'd be
Yeah.
great, Brad. Thanks.
Yeah.
And then now you just threw away all your profit
Yeah. Gone. For what?
because you're a people pleaser.
Yeah. Yeah, but like you're putting other people outside of your family
Mhm.
first, and so they need to be needed.
Exactly.
That's the way it needs to be put back to you: is your kids' education, your kids' clothes, your kids' holidays, your wife, and the whole family unit is affected by that decision.
You're absolutely right. You're stealing from yourself, your family, your kids, your employees, and
Yeah,
other customers.
yeah,
You're stealing from other customers because you're not being able to deliver the amount of value and services they need because you're constantly not making enough money,
yeah,
right? So then it turns into the volume game. I got to sell more jobs. I got to hire more people so I can produce more jobs. And then it's
yeah,
like, no, stop. You need to make more money first, and
yeah,
then everything else will come.
yeah. They nearly have an imposter syndrome about themselves by asking for more
Absolutely.
money.
Absolutely. That's right.
A couple
That's
of
the mindset
curveballs.
side of it.
Sorry, a couple of unconscious of time and your time as well, but a couple of curveballs, Brad, at you, if you don't mind.
Let's do it.
Knowing what you know now, what would you do different?
Oh, there's so much I would do different. I would pick one niche. I would pick a very, very, very specific niche, and I don't mean like a trade. Like if I wanted to be an electrician, I would pick a niche within the electrical trade. So, for
Yeah,
example, I have a client that just came on a couple weeks ago. They do a full service electrical, but their main thing they make money on is generators, installing whole house backup generators. And
yeah,
I'm like, I would just focus on that. Like I would
yeah.
rebrand my entire business and I would focus on nothing but generators and be the number one guy in my town that does generators.
You are so right that there's riches and niches. I like this. It's so true. Like I met a guy recently who worked in the film industry, and when COVID hit, obviously he lost his job. So what did he do? He started making models, little sort of for gaming companies,
Hmm.
that they could issue out as limited editions. So the character, he would make the character at home, and he'd do the painting of it, the whole lot. And next thing, you got a phone call from Harry Potter crew. Uh, Harry Potter wanted his stuff. Then he got uh, like a lot of the films started coming to him to make limited edition stuff. So he's got a couple of people working for him now. He can't grow it any bigger than it is because it's all
Sure.
hand painted, but it's all special edition stuff. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, there you go. You don't have to have this massive business or whatever else, but just find your niche. Find something. Like he's the happiest guy in the world. I can tell you that.
Yeah. 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 Sometimes it falls in your lap. You're not even looking for it, right? You
Yeah,
just But if you start a business and you can do a little bit of market research, where's the need in the marketplace? Where are people not filling it?
yeah,
If I was going back to the electrician example, if there were 15 other companies in my town that did generators, well, I'm going to have a much harder time
100%.
trying to compete with that. So maybe I switch and I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on agricultural. There's a lot of farms around here. I'm going to
Yeah,
focus on like, silos and farm equipment, and then I'm going to work on that, because maybe there's nobody really servicing them,
yeah,
like whatever it is. And then I'm going to focus. But here's the second part of that too. I want to add is that when you only do one thing, everything else in your business becomes easy because you
yeah,
only have to do marketing for one thing. You only need
yeah,
tools for one thing. You only need to train for one thing. And so
yeah.
you can hire a high school kid, and within 3 months he's fully trained to do that because he only has to learn how to do 5
Yeah.
different steps in a process.
I love that you said that. It's brilliant. I agree 100%. The only thing I would add to it would be there's a sort of principle of building a moat around your business so that you build this. So like, what is the moat? And exactly what you're discussing there is kind of like, it's a niche. There's part of the moat. So not many people can get into that area. Is it highly regulated? Do you have to get licenses? Do you have to get certification? Is how much hassle is it to get into that? And if you can get past all that hassle and get all that done, other people are going to look at it and go, well, I'm not going to do that because I'm not qualified or don't have the certs or whatever.
Yep.
Tell me,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, so out in the U.S., we have several years ago they came out with like lead, regulations, and you had to be certified to go handle lead. If you're going to take out an old window that's got lead on it, you got to have all this stuff. So my buddy and I went and did this class. It's like an 8-hour all-day class on how to be lead abatement certified. We go take the class. At the end of the day, I said, there's no way I'm ever going to get certified because I don't want to deal with any of this crap. Like, it was just, you know what I mean? It was easier for me if someone called and had lead, I'm like, sorry, we can't help you. Call this other company. But that's exactly what you were saying. Like,
Yeah.
how much do you want to build that moat around you? The companies that are doing the lead abatement are making crazy money.
They are, yeah. Tell us something about you, Brad, that not many people would know, or would, people on the outside would not resonate with. Oh, didn't know Brad done that, or didn't know Brad had that. An interesting fact. An interesting fact. Anything. An interesting fact. Yeah.
Yeah. I've done 5 mission trips to both Russia and Ukraine with my church. I also do competitive pistol shooting here locally. I've been to the World Championships a couple times and the Nationals a few times. So I do a lot of competitive pistol shooting.
Wow. Didn't see that coming. Well done on your stuff with the church, though. Well done on that. Well done. Brad, we ran out of time, but I definitely would like to get you back because we could have done 2 or 3 podcasts by the sounds of things. If people want to get in touch with you, how do people get in touch with you? Give us your website. Give us the details of what that is.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about what I do, the easiest is the website. It's just hammerandgrind.com, hammerandgrind.com. I'm most active on TikTok, believe it or not. So the handle on TikTok is Hammer and Grind Podcast, which is also the name of my podcast, the Hammer and Grind Podcast. So if you go on TikTok, search for Hammer and Grind Podcast, you'll find me on there. You can shoot me a message, DM, or shoot me an email, whatever. It doesn't matter. You can find me there.
I absolutely love the show. Really insightful. I don't think we covered as much as we needed to cover, but I definitely think we hit some great points on today, and you definitely know your stuff. So if anyone's listening, Brad is really good at what he does. He's got a great approach. You probably heard it through the podcast. You don't need me to sell. I'm not selling Brad to you, but if you are struggling with your business, or if you've got some issues or challenges, here he is. We'll put the links to his contacts in the show notes as well. Brad, thanks very much for joining us, and we wish you all the best, and please come back.
Absolutely. Love to come back. Thank you for having me. And I do want to, don't want to forget, if you want to get a free ebook version of the book, we'll put a promo code. We'll use Gaffer. How's that sound? Promo code Gaffer. Does that work? Gaffer.
Yeah.
So if you go to we'll put the link, and if you go there, just put the promo code, you can get the ebook for free and start, reading it right away.
Brilliant. Have a good one, Brad. We'll put it in the show notes. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.